What's good with the YouTube? You already know, Big Flacco with a convict's perspective, man. And as always, man, we're going to give a perspective, man. We're going to allow people to come on here and tell their truth on this platform, whoever they may be. We don't discriminate. We don't hold no biased opinion. And I got Snoop on here, man. He wants to talk about his story about Solano. And I'm going to let him go from here and just take over this platform, and I'll just interject when necessary. But I'm pretty much going to let him talk and do his thing. How you doing, Snoop?
Hey, I'm doing absolutely phenomenal, man. Thank you.
Man, most definitely, man. You go ahead and have at it, brother.
Okay, thank you, man. First of all, I want to express my appreciation to you, man. For you're immediately, reaching back out to me when I initiated contact, because this is definitely an issue that people have been asking about. People now want to know about Solano and the events that occurred while I was on that yard, and people have reached out to me. So I wanted the opportunity to be able to speak regarding what really transpired on that yard and the events that happened after, which I'll eventually get to. But I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. This call is being recorded.
I'm going to take you backwards. We're going to go to the year of 1997, summer of 97, when I got to Solano, which was a level 3 yard, and it was a functioning yard. And I came from Susanville, where I had internal conflict and controversy regarding issues that transpired there. I don't know if there's people on this platform who were in Susanville with me. I didn't stay too long on the yard. I was in the level 2 yard for probably about a month. Got into some internal conflict. Ended up in the hole, where I went to the yard, functioning, and ended up getting kicked out to the level 3 yard, where I lasted approximately 14 days, and I ended up kicking off a riot on that yard, which ended up being like an 80-man melee, which ended up transpiring between the North and the South. But I say that to get to this. When I arrived at Solano, as I indicated, I had previous conflict at the 2 other prisons that I had been at. I was in High Desert and then Susanville. So I wasn't too sure of what was going to occur, upon my arrival here. But I was ready. I was going to keep myself ready. I was preparing myself for any action that was going to transpire, as I always do. So, but when I got to the yard, I immediately saw that I knew some of these dudes there. My boy Smiley from Sacramento was on the yard. There was a cat by the name of Chino from Southside Stockton. That was a friend of mine. Two other good friends of mine. And there were several other people on the yard that I knew. But so I get there on the yard, and as I said, it was a functioning yard. So of course I had to go through the process of being a new arrival. I was questioned regarding my previous places that I've been, and the people that I functioned with and whatnot. And as I identified myself as a Norteno. So of course, I have mentioned the Nortenos that were in my vicinity, people that were programming on the yards that I've been at. And of course, I didn't mention the fact that I've had internal conflict. I'm not going to go and just reveal that information because of course it'll be utilized against me. So I allowed them to and to do their thorough investigation and find out themselves, and they wish to pursue this rendezvous, then we can go ahead and handle our business. But anyways, so I immediately, immersed myself into the going-ons of the yard. It was my first time being so close to Sacramento, Sacramento was literally like 45 minutes away. So of course, I was enjoying my visits, and, had packages on the way, and, I was immediately, in the mix, But I really,
This call is being recorded.
I really appreciated the fact that I was around, I was around a circle of good dudes, man, that had the right, incentive and had the right ideas, and ideals as mine. So, of course, on that yard, I one of the things that really baffled me, if you will, was that people were saying that that the dude that was running structure, the dude that was basically running the car for the Norteno was a gentleman by the name of Tito. I believe his last name is Arriaga.
Yep, it is.
From Stockton.
Yes.
Arriaga.
Yep, Ramon Arriaga. Okay,
absolutely. But he was the one that was running the show for them guys. Now, mind you, back in 1997, there was a divide within the Norteno struggle, and what I mean by that is you had Norteños like myself who were into democracy. We were pro-democracy. Thus meaning that we had our own opinions. We were opinionated, and we were able to have our own perspective regarding the going-ons that were transpiring on the yard and whatnot. But you also had the Norteno Raza, who were functioning on the yard at that time, also known as structure. And them guys are the ones who basically, dealt with the, security measures and the plethora of intricacies regarding the struggle, if you will. And so I was just bewildered, because one of the things that I noticed, that this dude who's supposed to be having this, authoritative role is a flamboyant homosexual. Okay? And I had a problem with that. Not that I have anything against the LGBTQ community, because I don't. But that type of behavior does not intertwine with the going-ons of the game, And when I say that, I want to make it clear that I've been a factor of the game for a long time. I was introduced to the game at a very young age, so the game is something that I've always held very near and dear to my heart. So when I came to prison, I didn't necessarily, involve myself in any of the, prison politics, if you will. That doesn't mean that, I shied away from my responsibilities as a young Norteño, coming into the system. I'm all for, action. I've always been, completely with the business. I don't shy away from, involving myself in any type of combat, if you will. So I had no problem with, functioning. What I never allowed was to be dictated upon. As you know, a lot of these guys that inherit, this power, on the yards, they never really earned it. They never really did anything to really earn this power. More so, they're inheriting it. It's being passed down to them from generation to generation. Kind of like wealth, if you will. Within the community, if a person has wealth, he passes it on, to his next generation, passes it on to his kids and whatnot. So a lot of time, kids that are, born, that inherit wealth, if you will, they receive this wealth. They receive, these goods, from their beneficiaries. So, a lot of times they never really honor, the responsibilities that come with that. And I use that, to give a bit of perspective regarding, the way that on the yard some of these guys inherit power and they automatically abuse it. They don't honor it. Because it's not something that they earned. It's not something that they did anything for. You know, they just might have, you know, it's just been next in line, you know? And so, with this guy Tito, you know, he was very vocal. He didn't hide the fact that he was attracted to boys, you know? I mean, do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, absolutely.
This call is being recorded.
Yeah. Where I'm from, you don't do that. You can't intermingle within the threshold of the game if you are, you know, a homosexual. Those two don't, you know, they don't coincide with one another. So I definitely had an issue with that. But it wasn't my responsibility to go and press this issue. But by you know, all means, I emphasize that this dude certainly doesn't have any say-so over me or what the hell I've got going on, you know?
Yeah.
And so with these youngsters that he had surrounding himself by, you know, I didn't take those dudes seriously. A lot of these guys were just young, you know, they were, you know, naive to the game. You know, for some of these guys, this was their first yard that they've been to. You know, so they're, you know, literally listening to this dude and looking up to him and whatnot, and they are condoning this dude's behavior. You know, what I mean by that is, you know, him chasing punks on the yard, okay? But like I said, man, as long as they stayed away from me, they didn't come at me with any of their shenanigans, then by all means, hey, have at it, you know?
Yeah.
But of course, you know, I was involved in the goings-ons on the yard. It didn't take long for me to, you know, encounter like-minded individuals that had the, you know, that had the same outlook on certain things. And what it came down to was just, as long as they don't come at us with any nonsense, then by all means, we'll continue to program, you know, and let things as be. So, one of the dudes that he was, you know, that basically was his punk, was a dude by the name of Rascal. You know, this is a young dude from Cocoa County. I don't exactly remember where this dude's from. I believe he was saying that he was from Concord at that time. I don't know if I hear that he's saying he's from Antioch now, but that wasn't where he was claiming to be from at that time. At the time, he was saying that he was from Concord. But this was just a young punk, you know? He was a young punk, and that was basically Tito's pitch. And Tito had several young punks that he was running up in. You know? Rascal just happened to be one of them. You know? So be it. Now, while I was on this yard, you know, I had my crew. I had my social circle. You know, my inner circle that I you know, networked with and programmed with. You know, my boy Luch, Carlos from Oakland, California. My boy Smiley from Sacramento. Chino from Southside Stockton. There was a young cat by the name of Junie that was on the yard. We had a pretty tight-knit circle, man. Another guy that ended up showing up from Pelican Bay was a gentleman by the name of Alon Marquez. You know, they called him Capone from Redwood City. Very decent dude. You know, he became a really good friend of mine. So, I mean, we were networking. You know, we were involved in the goings-ons on the yard. One of the questions that people are asking is about the incident with Hank. You know, the dude that I was involved in the incident with his name was Hank Lada. Hank Lada was a very well-known hermano from Salinas that was, he basically, you know, just did what the hell he wanted to do. a bully on the yard, you know. And while I was there, I noticed the way that he would mistreat a lot of youngsters, you know, the way he would talk to them and berate them, and I didn't like that, you know. I didn't like that. You know, of course, if these guys are going to allow themselves to be treated like this, then of course I'm not going to sit here and put my cape on for anyone. But I didn't like the dude. So his cellie at the time was a gentleman by the name of Chino. Chino was from South San Francisco, and he was a pretty decent dude, man. You know, he was clicked up. He was
This call is being recorded.
with the hermanos, but he was a decent dude. He was somebody that I would converse with, you know, and of course, you know, I would network with him from time to time. You know, give him opportunities to, you know, put some you know, items on the shelf and, you know, enjoy himself, if you will. Mm-hmm. There was another gentleman by the name of Spider from Hayward.
Yep.
I don't know if you were on the yard with him. Were you on the yard with Spider?
Yeah. I remember Spider. It was, Spider. I know who Spider is. He was a hermano too.
So, anyways, you know, the reason why I mentioned these names, I'm not into name dropping, of course, but I mentioned that because I want the audience to really have an understanding and know that, you know, because I've always been against the grain, it doesn't mean that I, you know, exploited, you know, anybody. It doesn't mean that I, you know, didn't function, or that I always, you know, I had a, you know, a vendetta against, you know, every hermano. That's definitely not the case. I've always emphasized that I understood the divide.
This call is being recorded.
Many people that see blurred lines within the equation of the Norteno struggle. I'm somebody that has always had a very logical and practical view of what was really going on. But that doesn't mean that I was, you know, a bonito or somebody that, you know, was, you know, leading anybody astray. So many people have such a, you know, a distorted view of what, you know, actually occurred, man. And because there's such interest, you know, I'm so people want to know what actually transpired. You know, I got people that reach out to me, you know, asking me questions, and, you know, because they have genuine interest. And so I'm willing to provide, you know, the accurate assessment of what really occurred, you know, to give the truth. And I understand, you know, with my reputation, there's going to be, you know, a level of subjective perspective and opinion regarding the decisions that I made. You know, and everybody's entitled to their own opinion. You know, when it comes to somebody's opinion, I don't ever respond to it. I don't react to people's opinion, regardless of whether it's, you know, subjective or not. But a lot of people's opinion aren't based on truth. It's not based on the reality of what actually occurred. So when a person is throwing his opinion out there, it's not truly based on a level of belief of what you think happened, you know. And I say that because, you know, I'm gonna get to the dude Rascal. So, anyways, like I was saying, you know, this dude Hank was set up with a guy by the name of Chino from South San Francisco, who I networked with. You know, yeah, I was, you know, I wouldn't call him a friend, but he's somebody that I associated myself with. And apparently, Chino went to the hole. I guess he was, he got snatched up, and I believe he was going through the possibility of, you know, the validation process. Is what I was being told. And for some reason or another, this dude Hank, I guess, kept his property. You know, the dude Chino ended up sending word out to the yard that a lot of this property was missing. You know, what exactly it was, I can't recall. But the main thing in particular was his TV. You know, at that time, Solano was one of the only facilities that allowed TVs in the home. So, as you know, it's something that you require, And so when he got his property, his TV was missing. So he sent word out there, and they confronted Hank, and Hank was very vocal about it. And he says, yeah, I got his TV, that's my TV now. And what he was saying was that Chino owed him, like, I don't know, 20 or 30 bucks. And he left the yard owing him some money. So, of course, word got around, and he wasn't giving up the TV. But these guys were scared of him, Like I said, he was a pretty big dude, man. And he was with the business, But I see these guys, huddled in a circle, and they're discussing, this topic, and
This call is being recorded.
decide who's going to initiate this removal, So, I see these guys talking, and they're debating, and, there's not really much to talk about. The dude's got to go. So, of course, yeah, I've only been there for a couple of months, but I don't like this dude, Hank. I don't like the way that he talks to some people, So I go over there and I let them know, hey, look, check this out. This issue isn't necessarily my business, but, I'm willing to make it my business. I'm in the same block as this guy,
Mm-hmm.
So, if you guys are sitting here debating on who you want to get rid of this dude, I got no problem fucking him up. I don't like him. So, if you want to get that TV back, I got no problem keeping that TV. And so these guys were like, man, are you sure? I told them, absolutely. Absolutely. They said, well, you got to be careful with this guy, man. He's locked up for, killing somebody with his bare hands. And I don't care about all that, That doesn't scare me. So I don't care, who he's killed and any of that. I'm very confident in what I'm capable of. So, if you guys would like, I raise my hand to fuck this dude up. I'll go get that dude's TV, I'll get Cheeto's TV back. I like Cheeto. Cheeto's a decent dude. So, of course, when it was yard recall, Hank was the coach of the Norteno baseball team. And so I waited. As soon as he walked into the block, I followed him, came from behind. I told him, hey, I need to talk to you about some things. So as soon as he walked into his cell, I walked into his cell with him, and I just got off on him, I obliterated him, mangled him. And, while he was on the ground, I was kicking him, and, I put a pretty nice beating on him. But I grabbed the TV, I yanked the cable out of it, from the wall, and walked out with the TV. I went to my cell, put the TV in my cell, and there was a dude by the name of Diablo. He was a black homeboy from Oakland, but he resided in Modesto. And Hank had, called him the N-word and let him know that, just because you say you're a Norteno doesn't mean that I got to accept you.
This call is being recorded.
I disrespected him previously. And I had addressed that issue with Diablo, and I let Diablo know, that I can't fuck with him unless he deals with that issue. So Diablo sees that this dude Hank is disoriented, getting up off the ground, and Diablo took advantage of the situation, and he ran into the dude's room, you know, and started fucking him up, you know. So, anyways, you know, we locked down. The dude Hank ends up coming out of the cell, you know, lumped up and beat up. And of course, he doesn't have a problem with me. He goes straight to this dude Diablo, and he tells Diablo, yeah, you know, hey, let's check this out, punk. When the doors unlock, I'm gonna fuck you up. I need that. You know, I need that. And so Diablo was, you know, he's kind of scared, man. So Diablo calls over to me, and he's like, "Hey, man, did you hear that?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely, I heard that." I said, "Look, so go handle your business." You know. He was like, "Man, you know, I did." So of course we're talking on the tier. So I told him, "Hey, look, check this out. I'll get at you later. I'll get you when the door's cracked." He goes, "You got me?" And I mean, the only thing I was worried about, my responsibility was to get this TV. You know, I got the TV myself. I fucked this dude up. You know, what happens after that, you know, it's up to them. But I accomplished my goal. And so I really didn't care about what Diablo had going on, you know. So anyways, he calls over to me again. The door's unlocked. He comes to my cell. And he's like, "Hey, man, do you got me?" I says, "Look, check this out, bro. Handle your business. I'm not going to allow you to get your ass whooped, bro. You know, this dude's in the wrong. He's out of pocket. I'm not going to allow this dude to get over on you." He's okay. So, you know, we walk around the day room, and this dude Hank's ready. You know, he's over there, you know, under the stairs. You know, as you know, that's pretty much a blind area right there. Mm-hmm. Under the stairs, you know, by cell 1, you know. But he's ready. He's got his, you know, shirt off. He has his gloves on, and Diablo's hesitating. You know, so I tell Diablo, "Man, go over there, handle your business, man." So Diablo goes over there, and they start chunking him. You know, and Hank, you know, starts manhandling him. Hank grabs him and throws him against the wall, and you know, starts two-piecing him. Bang, bang, you know, just two-piecing him over and over again. So, like I said, man, you know, I said that I wasn't going to allow this to happen. So, yeah, you know, I ran over there, and you know, I walked away from that incident. And dude was, you know, he was unconscious, you know, leaking out of his head. You know, he suffered a very, you know, a very serious wound around his head area. But he's, you know, bleeding out. And I go back to where I was at. You know, of course, Diablo stays on him. And they're calling man down, they're shooting and whatnot. And, you know, Diablo ends up going to the hole for that. You know, it gets, you know, ends up going to the hole for a battery, a great bodily injury. And, you know, that was that. You know, that was that incident. But as a result of that, you know, I immediately started receiving accolades because I guess this dude, Hank, unbeknownst to me, you know, had, you know, been on that yard for quite some time. And, you know, he had beat up a bunch of people on that yard. Mm-hmm. But, you know, as you know, a lot of people in prison gain a reputation by beating up on easy wins, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of time, you know, people don't look for challenges. They look for somebody that they know they can beat the crap out of. And so they stack, you know, all these, you know, consecutive wins because they're beating up on all these guys that can't fight, you know? I myself, I beg to differ, you know? I don't want, you know, a simple win. I like a challenge. I like someone who is going to bring the noise, if you will. Mm-hmm. You know. So, anyways, you know, I was, you know, going back to the normal program, you know, and I was on that yard for, you know, about a year.
Damn, hey.
Yeah.